Honors 10. Today we're continuing with our verbal phrase goals. Today we're going to be talking about gerunds. Our goal today is not only to find gerunds, but also to identify how they function in the sentence. So remember the first lesson that we did in this unit where you had to identify your direct and indirect objects or predicate adjectives and predicate nominatives? That's where that work this is where that work becomes important. Gerunds are really easy to find. They're verbal phrases, so a word that would normally be a verb, but gerunds are acting as a noun. The nice thing about gerunds is that they always end in ing. Participles sometimes end in ing, sometimes d or ed. Gerunds are always going to end in ing, so they're easy to spot. The gerund phrase itself will include that ing verb and anything that modifies the ing verb. That'll make up your whole phrase. The hard part about gerunds is that they can come in many different places in the sentence. They can be your subject of the sentence, they can be the direct or indirect object, they can be the object of a preposition. Oh, remember when we talked about prepositions and I said a prepositional phrase will always start with a preposition and end with its object, which is always a noun? Well, it gets a little complicated when a gerund is there because gerunds aren't acting as nouns, but there are lots of words that act as a noun. So the gerund can be the object of a preposition, and lastly, it can be a predicate nominative. Now, why couldn't a gerund be a predicate adjective? Because an adjective isn't a noun, and gerunds are always nouns, okay? So you don't have that option with a gerund. It's always, if it's got a linking verb, it's always going to be a predicate nominative. So I'll give you a little trick in the examples as to figure out how it's functioning in the sentence. Let's take a look.
Gerunds are typically pretty easy to find since they always end in ing, but sometimes they're hard to identify. So first we're going to find them all, then I'll show you guys how to identify them. In this first example, running a mile every day is my gerund. It starts with the ing word, running, and then includes what it is talking about. Running what? Running a mile, when, every day. So since those modify running, they're part of the phrase. In our second example, I tried to get in shape by running a mile every day. Running again as my base gerund. Running what? A mile, when, every day. That's the entire gerund phrase. For number 3, I enjoyed running a mile every day. Running is my ing word. Running what? A mile. Running when? Every day. That's my entire phrase. And lastly, my favorite activity is running a mile. Running again is my base gerund. The entire phrase includes what we're running a mile. Now, finding out how the gerund is functioning is a little bit more challenging. I have to look at where the phrase is placed in the sentence. If there is nothing before it, it's usually the subject of the sentence. If I see a preposition before it, it's the object of that preposition. If I see an action verb before it, I know from my basic parts of a sentence that action verbs come only with objects. So I have two choices. It can either be a DO or an IO, a direct object or an indirect object, if it follows an action verb. In this case, enjoyed who or what? Enjoyed running a mile. This one is a DO. And lastly, if I have a linking verb preceding my gerund, I know it has to be a PN. It has to be a PN. It can't be a PA because gerunds are always nouns. So it's not possible for this to be a predicate adjective. If it follows a linking verb, it has to be a predicate nominative.